Hey guys, today's topic of the day is teen pregnancy and that how teens always find themselves saying, it can't happen to me. Yeah, well, for those teens that say, it can't happen to me, honestly makes it a little bit more likely for it to happen to you, because being in so denial and being so confident that something can't happen to you will make something happen to you because you're so overly confident that you feel like you have nothing to worry about because it won't happen to you. So being so confident that nothing can happen makes you more likely to look over things that you could be doing wrong that therefore will get you pregnant. So I recommend that nobody that is a teenager keep saying it can never happen to me, because it makes you more likely for whatever it is to happen to you, mainly teen pregnancy, which is the topic for today that I already said. Now, when it comes to teen pregnancy, a lot of teens out there are having sex, especially at a young age, like 14, some maybe even the 8th grade. A lot of people have sex when they're still in grammar school, going into high school. Now, the younger you start having sex, the more likely you are to get pregnant, because you pretty much have a jump start on having sex with someone. So the more you have sex, the more likely you are pretty much to get pregnant, regardless of how much experience you have. Now, once you hit high school, mainly if you are around like guys that are juniors, seniors, sometimes sophomores, that's when those guys mainly are going to look for sex more than anything else, because they're experiencing it. They're like, oh, it feels good. So once you hit high school, the amount of sex that people are going to be expecting from you is going to amp up, which is why high school pretty much sucks, because a lot of guys out there are just looking for sex while you're out there looking for a real relationship. So if any of those guys want sex from you, then I recommend that you get out of the relationship, because you don't want to get pregnant. Especially if these guys are only looking for sex, because once you get pregnant, they're not going to be there. They're just going to run off. They're going to, like, once you turn to them and say, hey, I'm pregnant, or I think I'm pregnant, they're going to be like, oh, I can't be a father. I'm not ready to be a father. All that other stuff. They're going to be like, you need to abort it. I'm not going to be a father. If you have the baby, I'm never talking to you again. And things like that. Like, my parents are going to kill me. All that other stuff. The guys are going to tell you if you turn to them and say you're pregnant. So, honestly, don't. It's easier to have sex, not to have sex, than to have sex and find out that this guy that said that they loved you to get into your pants isn't actually in love with you. They just used you for sex, and then now that you are pregnant, or think you are pregnant, and turn to this person and say, hey, I'm pregnant, you realize that these guys are complete assholes. They only use you for one thing, and they're not going to be there to support you, and they just run off, leaving you there, which is a really bad thing, because if a guy is willing to have sex with you, or if you are willing to have sex with someone, you both should be able to accept the responsibility that comes along with the risk of getting pregnant. So, if you are having sex, think about the consequences, and are you ready to have them? Is it worth having sex, getting pregnant, and having your parents literally bug the heck out on you? Because honestly, if I was a teenager and I was pregnant, or my parents found out I had sex, I would realize that it is not even worth it. Because if your parents find out that you are sexually active, they are going to bite your head off. You are going to be grounded. They're not going to let you see any people. They're not going to even let you date for a while if those are the kind of parents that you have. So if my parents found out that I was sexually active, I would realize that it's not worth my parents biting my head off, grounding me, and taking all those other things away from me. Now, if you get pregnant or think you are pregnant and you tell your parents about that, they're not only going to bite your head off, they are going to bite your head off, chop your body up into tiny little bits, and feed it to the guy that you had sex with. That's how extreme your parents are going to go if they find out you have sex, and especially if you are pregnant. So I recommend that you don't have sex, or if you are sexually active, to already tell your parents, because you don't want to find out that you are pregnant in the future. If you could prevent things like this happening when you're younger by just simply telling your parents, they could get birth control and all those other things. Now, if you are having sex with someone and you are still saying to yourself, oh, this can never happen to me, a lot of people that say that are the type of people that either only use condoms every once in a while, or don't use condoms at all. If you are one of those people that use only condoms with whoever you have sex with, okay, yeah, you are less likely to get pregnant, but condoms aren't exactly foolproof. They can break. You could put them on the wrong way. Things could go wrong with even wearing condoms, so there is always that risk of you getting pregnant. Now, if you are one of those people that use condoms every once in a while, you are even more likely to be pregnant, and it's almost impossible for you pretty much not to get pregnant. I would be shocked if people don't get pregnant from this. You get very lucky if you don't get pregnant. A lot of people that have sex with condoms every once in a while, it goes back to what I said about if you only have sex with someone with condoms, there's always that risk of getting pregnant. Things could go wrong, the condom could break, they could go on backwards. But if you only have sex with a condom every once in a while and you go commando most of the time or more of the time or the same amount of time, this is where it definitely applies, where you should stop saying it can never happen to me or it can't happen to me, because even though you don't have sex, even though you have sex without a condom and you might be on birth control, after that you might take plan B or something like that that cancels the baby actually attaching to the lining of your uterus, thereby preventing you from getting pregnant and aborting the baby. Even though you use all those things, birth control, plan B, doesn't mean that they're actually going to work. There's a 99% chance that these things are going to work, a 97% chance. And you might look at it and say, hey, those are really good chances, so I'm probably not going to be part of that 1%. But once you find out that you might be part of that 1%, aren't you going to feel like an asshole for ever even saying, it's pretty much impossible, 99% is a good chance, and now you're part of that 1%, you feel like a complete asshole, don't you? So, even if you use birth controls, plan B, things that abort the baby, doesn't mean that they are actually going to work. So, the more you have sex without condoms, the more likely you get pregnant, so I recommend that you stop saying that it can't happen to you, especially if you're one of those people that use condoms every once in a while, even if you use plan B or birth control, because it makes it more likely to happen. Nothing is guaranteed, so unless something's guaranteed, don't do it. I would strongly recommend not doing it. Now, when it comes to using things like plan B, those things could be very harmful to you. They could have long-term effects, and is it really worth having a long-term effect that could even prevent you from having a child yourself in the future when you actually want one, just in exchange for something that took about 5 minutes to a couple of hours? It really isn't worth it. These guys, especially when you are a teenager, they're in that hormonal stage where they want to have sex. End of story. They want to have sex. They will tell you anything to get in your pants. A very, very good percentage of guys just want to have sex. Doesn't mean that all guys just want to have sex when they're teenagers, but most of them do, because all these things are happening that are changing, and hormonally they just are craving things. So, just because a guy is telling you that they love you, you're the one, they want to have sex with you, and you're sexually active with this person because they love you, doesn't mean they actually love you, because once you find out you're pregnant, they're going to run away. Guaranteed they are going to run away, they're going to shoot themselves, they're going to be like, oh, my parents are going to kill me if they find out, and they're just going to drop you. If you aren't ready to take the responsibility of having a kid, you're better off not having sex, or at least telling your parents that you are sexually active to help prevent things from pregnancies happening when you aren't ready. Now, if you're one of those teenagers that actually want to have a baby and think that you're ready, you aren't. When you are a teenager, it's going to be the most hardest point in your life for one reason. When you are a teenager, your body is changing, you're going through all these different things, and it causes a lot of problems for people. It causes depression, suicide, because your body is changing. It gets very stressful, you're confused, you're scared, your sexuality could be changing. You could go from being straight to going bi to going gay. So your body is changing, you're very confused, all these things are going on. So since you are all that stuff is pretty much going on, and if you throw a baby into that mix, that's going to screw everything up. That's the worst time to have a kid, because you are still evolving, and because you are still evolving, you're even more stressed out, you're even more scared. It's going to make things a lot more difficult, and it's going to be a bad environment for that baby that is going to be thrown into the mix. Now, not only is it a bad time to have kids just because your body is changing and you're getting confused and all that stuff, it's also a really bad time because it's one of the most important times of your life. Because you have SATs and you're transitioning from high school to college. That's one of the most important things that you are going to experience in your life, because the SATs and tests, standardized tests that get you into college are key importance, because if you don't get into college, chances are you're not going to get a good enough job to support yourself and this child. So you should just pay attention, stay in school, get good grades so you could get a good job, go to college, and thereby be able to support yourself, your family, kids, and stuff when you are older. Because it's pretty much impossible for you to be able to support yourself if you don't have a good college education now. A lot of people way back then when they were growing up, you could drive a bus and you don't need a college degree, but if you go into being a bus driver now, guess what? You need a college degree. Things have changed from then and now. So your parents, when they were growing up, and a lot of them probably didn't go to, some of them didn't go to college, they didn't finish college, that was fine back then, but now things have changed where you can't really survive without having a college education. It makes things difficult. It's not impossible, but it makes things a lot more difficult, because the only jobs that offer you any kind of a job or pay that is at least minimum wage are the ones that you find at McDonald's and stuff if you don't have a college education. So you shouldn't have a kid when you're in high school, because all these important things are going on that you need in order to survive in the future. If you hear that noise outside, that is my cat, and she has a messed up like vocal cord or something like that, so she sounds like a turkey sometimes. And she heard me and she just cussed me out. But as I was saying, not only are you transitioning from high school to college, going through all these emotional changes, if you are pregnant and you are young, like you're 14, 15, and you just think you're ready to have a kid, or you don't think you're ready to have a kid, things are going to be a lot harder, because it's impossible for you to get a job when you're 14, 15 years old. You have to be at least 17, 16 to get a job. So yeah, take that into consideration, because if you don't have a job, you can't support the kid, and you can't pay for things that you want in the future. You're gonna have to sacrifice you going to the mall and buying those cute pair of shoes in order to buy your kid food, good fitting clothing, and so on. Now, a lot of people that are young, believe it or not, think that they're ready to have a kid when they really, really aren't. Not just because of those things that I already said, also for the fact that a lot of teenagers think that they can have a kid because they just are using it for an excuse or something. Like, they think that having a baby will get attention or love from those people that don't give it to them in the first place, or replace it from those people that are ignoring them, not loving them, and so on. So, is it really worth it? Because you just think of it this way: you are not just only doing this to get love from someone else, or just replace love that you didn't get from other people. You are taking a human life into that consideration. It's just wrong. Just taking somebody else's life into consideration just to replace love that you have had, that you haven't been getting from your parents, or just to get attention. It's not good. It's not just your life you're putting in this situation, it's the kid's life. And since you really don't care about this person, you care about getting attention from other people, you could harm the baby. The baby could get sick, the baby could die, the baby's going to be deprived, and it's not going to have the right life. So if you are doing this just to get attention or replace love that you couldn't get from someone else, don't do it. It's not just your life you're putting into jeopardy, it's this child's life. Alright, now I'm just going to end it here, because I pretty much think I summed it up, but I'm sorry for the length. It is about 15 minutes, but there is a lot to say, and hopefully any teens that are watching this video stop thinking that it can't happen to you, because just saying that makes it more likely that it's going to happen. It's a lot of responsibility that you probably can't handle now. It's going to be hard for you to get a job. Being a teenager is the hardest thing you're going to experience, from trying to get into college to emotional changes. So if you think you're ready to have a kid, or there's even the slightest risk of you having a kid, or you think it's not going to happen to you, stop. End of story. Just stop. So I'm going to stop here, guys. Hopefully this helped any teens watching it from ruining their lives and a child's life. So, bye.